There is a number of ways to increase stitches in knitting. Some of them are more challenging than the others, but what way is the easiest of them all? In this tutorial, we'll take a look at two ridiculously simple ways to add a new stitch to the project. One of these ways results in creating a hole, while the other way adds a new stitch almost invisibly. Both ways are based on good old yarn over. First, let's take a look at the way that results in creating a hole. By using this way, we add a new stitch to the work by making a regular yarn over. And we do it in two simple steps. First, we bring the working yarn to the front of the right needle, like this. And then we bring the working yarn to the back of the right needle, like this. If you hold yarn in your right hand, then it will look like that. First, we bring the yarn to the front, and then to the back of the right needle. If the next stitch is a knit, then we are all set for knitting it because the yarn is already at the back of the work. So we can simply insert the needle into the next stitch and knit it. But if the next stitch is a purl, then we'll need to do something else to bring the yarn to the front of the work. Here's how it works. So we make a yarn over first, bring the yarn to the front of the right needle, then to the back of the right needle. And then we bring the yarn to the front, but in such a way that the yarn goes at the bottom of the right needle, like this. And now we are all set to purl a stitch. So we can simply purl a stitch without losing that yarn over. See, we still have it. We still have this hole right here in the work. So that's pretty much it. In the next row, we can knit or purl the yarn overs. It's up to you. It results in a slightly different look, but you can do whatever the pattern tells you or whatever you feel like doing. I'm gonna purl the first yarn over. See, when we get to the yarn over, I simply insert the needle into that strand that is basically not a stitch yet, and pull the yarn through, creating a purl stitch. And we can also knit the yarn over in the next row. So when I get to the next yarn over, it's right here, I bring the yarn to the back of the work, insert the needle into that strand, into the yarn over, and knit it. I'm going to work a couple more rows to show you how these yarn overs look on the right side of the work. Okay, now we should be able to clearly see the difference of knitting and purling yarn over the wrong side of the work. So here are those two yarn overs that we've just created. The first one was purled in the wrong side, and you can see that it results in a smoother finish. So the fabric is smooth, it's basically the same stockinette stitch. But the second yarn over was knitted in the wrong side of the work, and you can tell that there is this little bump that is characteristic of garter stitch, because we knitted the stitch that was supposed to be purled, and it adds a slightly different look, which is okay. So now that you know how these two yarn overs look by being purled and knitted on the wrong side row, you can choose which effect, which look you want to create, and then knit a yarn over in the wrong side row or purl it. But it's not all we can do to the yarn overs to change the look of the fabric. We can also work these yarn overs as twisted knits and twisted purls, and that will somewhat close the hole so it won't be as big, and it will look in a different way. And I'm going to show you how to do it and how it's going to look. So I made two yarn overs over here. One is over here. See, we can tell that there is a hole here, and I'm gonna purl this yarn over as a twisted purl. And here's how I do it. So with the yarn at the front of the work, insert the tip of the right needle into that strand, like going from the back of the stitch, and then wrap the needle with the yarn as we normally do and pull it through. So we've just created a twisted purl, and you can tell that this stitch is twisted because we can clearly see, let me show you how it looks. So we can clearly see this little cross when two legs of the stitch are crossed, twisted. That's why it's called twisted, right? And I'm gonna knit the next yarn over as a twisted knit. So when I get to the yarn over, I simply knit it through the back loop. So we go in here and then knit it through the back loop, and it results also in this cross when the two legs of the stitch are crossed or twisted. I'll work a couple more rows to show you how it looks on the right side of the work. Okay, so let's take a look at the right side of the work. See, these are the two yarn overs that we've created, the regular yarn overs that were purled as twisted stitch, and this one was knitted as twisted stitch. And you can tell that the hole is way smaller, right, compared to this one. It is almost invisible, and we can see that twist, which is okay, right? Nothing wrong with that. And we can also see that the one that was worked as a twisted purl in the wrong side row results in a nice flatter fabric, and the one that was knitted in the wrong side row has that bump that looks a bit like a garter stitch, right? So same bump as we have over here, but much smaller because there is no big hole underneath it. So that's one of the ways to kind of close that hole if you don't want to have a hole in your fabric, if you do not plan to make some kind of like decorative effect. The other way to eliminate that hole would be to make a reverse yarn over, and that's exactly what we're gonna do right now. So let's work to this part where we plan to add a new stitch. It would be right here for me. And then we make a reverse yarn over, which has the same two simple steps as the regular yarn over, just we perform those steps in a reverse order. First, we bring the yarn to the back of the right needle, and then we bring the yarn to the front of the right needle. And you do the same thing if you hold yarn in your right hand. So first, back of the right needle, and then front of the right needle. And if the next stitch is a purl, then it is easy. The yarn is already at the front of the work, and we can simply purl the stitch. But what to do if the next stitch is a knit? So in that case, we do something else. We have to bring the yarn to the back of the work without losing that yarn over. How do we do that? So we make a yarn over, the reverse yarn over, we bring it to the back, the yarn to the back and then to the front of the right needle. And then we bring the yarn around the right needle, going underneath it at the bottom of the needle, bringing the yarn to the back of the work without losing the yarn over. And then we can confidently knit the next stitch. And there is no need to work these stitches as twisted knits or purls in the next row, because the reverse yarn over already results in a twisted stitch. So now when we get to that yarn over in the next row, in the wrong side row, we can simply knit it or purl it. So I'm gonna purl this one. I'll show you what I do. I go right to left under that strand, and then I wrap the needle with the yarn, pull it through, and make that stitch, that purl stitch. Or we can also knit this stitch. Simply when you get to that yarn over, it's right here, you insert the needle the usual way from left to right into that strand, then wrap the needle with the yarn, pull it through, and finish off the stitch. And then in the right side of the work, we get a look that is almost invisible. I'll work a couple more rows to show you how it looks, so we could compare all three looks that we've just created. Okay, let's take a look at what we have in our swatch. We have three different increases. They're not really different because it's all same yarn over, but we worked them in a slightly different way, so we can say we created three different looks. So the first two yarn overs resulted in a big hole, like as you see over here. This one was purled in the wrong side row, and this one was knitted, and we have this characteristic bump. The second way was the usual yarn over, but we worked it as a twisted purl or twisted knit in the wrong side row. And the third increase was created by the reverse yarn over, which was already purled and knitted in the wrong side row. So here are the three different looks that we can make by using simple yarn over increases. The fact that these increases are so easy to make doesn't mean that they cannot be used in advanced knitting projects. Yarn over increases are as good as any other type of increases, and there is nothing wrong with using them whenever you need to add a new stitch to the work, whether it is a simple shawl or a fancy sweater with sophisticated shaping. To read this tutorial as a set of step-by-step photo instructions, follow the link in the description. To download it as a PDF, join the club or our community on Patreon. Thank you for watching this video and have a wonderful week. I'll see you in the next tutorial.